I'd like to call the special meeting, October 18th special meeting of the Bucksport Planning Board to order. Roll call.
Stephen Bishop.
Here.
Brian McDonald.
Here.
David Grant.
Present.
Steve Fight.
Here.
Edward Belcher.
Here.
Shannon is not here. Jay Ross.
Here.
Review and acceptance of minutes of the October 2nd meeting, 2018 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to be accepted as drafted.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
One abstention.
The chair report. There is no chair report. Code enforcement officers report.
Just quickly to update you, town council approved the repeal and replacement of Chapter 5, the building codes and standards ordinance, as it's called now, and the creation of Chapter 13, which contains property maintenance and demolition standards. That's in effect as of today. The charter was changed, as you may recall, to change the effective date of ordinances from 30 days to 7 days now, unless it says otherwise in the ordinance. So those are all in effect as of today, and they've been posted to the town's website. Actually, I've already applied a provision in Chapter 5 as an exemption, permit exemption, and was pleased to tell the owner of a cell tower on Church Road that they did not need a permit to install a backup generator. They would otherwise have to do that. And also, just to give you quickly a notice that the upper roof of Wilson Hall is scheduled now to be taken off tomorrow morning. The crane service is expected to arrive around 8:30, so that should be an exciting thing to watch. That's all I have.
Thank you. This time I'll open a limited public forum, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on matters related to land use or planning in the town of Bucksport, but not on the agenda for tonight. So if anybody would like to speak, now is the time. Seeing none, I'll close the limited public forum. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have a request for subdivision approval for a proposed 48-lot mobile home park known as Silver Lake Estates to be located on property fronting Central Street, identified as Lot 22 on Town Tax Map 05. The applicant, the Hawes Group LLC, Michael Hawes.
So Mr. Hawes is here tonight along with his engineer Tim Brochu, DES, and we're here to answer the questions you may have. I'll start off by describing what's happened so far up to this point. Beginning on December 5th, 2017, the planning board reviewed sketch plans for the mobile home park and a draft contract zone agreement to allow a mobile home park in zones where the use is not allowed. And then next month, January 2nd, the planning board reviewed and updated plans for the mobile home park and scheduled a public hearing for February 6th, 2018 for the contract zone proposal. February 6th, they held the public hearing, and the vote was 4-2 to recommend to the town council that they approve the contract zone agreement. Members Fight and Johnson opposed. March 15th, the town council held a public hearing on the proposed contract zone agreement and voted 5-0 to approve the agreement. I missed one meeting before that. Actually, at the February meeting, the town council held a first reading of the contract zone proposal. The March 15th meeting was the second reading. I failed to include that in the list. And then July 16th, the applicant submitted the stage 1 application for CEO review. August 1st, the stage 1 meeting was held with the applicant in my office, and I also conducted a site visit with the applicant. September 4th, the stage 2 application was submitted for department review, and then finally October 3rd, stage 3 application was submitted for planning board review. Going back to the stage 2 application, when I received that application, I did distributed it to all the department directors, and asked them to submit their comments within 2 weeks. And I heard back from every department director except from the Public Works Director. In spite of asking him twice for comments, I didn't hear back from him. The police chief had no concerns, fire chief had no concerns. The assessor had no concerns. Economic Development Director was supportive of the application. The superintendent of the sewer department submitted letters both on behalf of Maine Water and also the sewer department, and I'll show those to you. So he wrote that for planning law purposes, the Haas Mobile Home Park on Central Street should have no impact on the wastewater facility or collection system. He was wearing his superintendent hat there. And then wearing his Maine Water hat, he suggests that there might be, the project might trigger some synthetic organic compound testing, and he provided directions for filling out the application, which explains the things that will trigger the testing. He asked Mr. Haas if he uses any fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides to document that use and get hold of the water company. So as I pointed out, the contract zone was approved by the town council, and this depicts on the town zoning map what the contract zone covers. This is essentially Mr. Haas' entire property. This is another image from Google Earth. I showed you at a previous meeting just to point out the town's public works department is here, and the cap landfill is on this side here, and the mobile home park will be between the two. So as a part of my site visit, I made some documentation, and I wanted to show you, hold on a second. I took several photos, but I decided to take a video as well. I walked onto the lot, maybe about halfway, I think, roughly down, and we stopped and decided that that was probably a good enough spot to show you what the entire lot essentially looks like. So I'm going to play this short video for you. I just stood in one spot and just did a 360. I think there might be some minor changes made after this video was taken. I think perhaps the road has been worked on a little bit to rub it out some. Yeah. So that's the report on my site visit. I didn't see anything that concerned me. You could see in a couple spots walking down through, you could see the transfer station and the landfill, but they're a fair distance away, I think, from where the mobile homes will be located. So let's see, I think I have this, you see a map here too, but I'll keep this up on the screen. That's for the public perhaps to see what we're talking about. Is that viewable, Ryan? Can you see it all right? You had that one too, right? So abutters are notified all along the process. They're notified several times about the public hearings, the contract zoning, and there have been questions asked, but really no concerns expressed. The most recent public abutter notice was sent out regarding the public hearing that you're going to hold this evening, and there was no response to that notice. I have reviewed the site plans submitted, and I think they're very well done. I think they cover, along with the submissions, I think they cover all the development standards that you'll need to look at. There was a little confusion about the descriptions of the septic systems in the handout. It didn't quite match with the numbering on the site plan, so I brought that to the engineer's attention, and he submitted a revised plan that clears up that confusion. I didn't provide that to you. I'm not sure if you really need to know that, but if you do, I can give you copies of that revised description of the septic systems.
It's only where the test pits are.
Right, but the systems are sized too.
Correct.
In the description.
How many are on each system?
Yeah. In the design flow. So with that, I'll conclude my report on this application. As I said, the applicant is here tonight to answer questions, and your task is to determine if the application is complete, and at some point during the review, hold a public hearing and take public comments, and then do your development review standards and findings of fact.
I don't know when to bring it up, so I'll bring it up now. I was asked to mention that when we do a level 2 review, there's a step where we ask for any bias or conflict of interest, but I didn't see it on this. And at least one of us wants to voice, how would you say that? Get something out, just to explain a connection to this, or to something.
I just want the board to be aware that I do live up the road and across the street from this project, and I have known my cause for some time now. I have nothing to gain or lose based on any of this. I have no bias and feel I can make an appropriate decision with all the information that I've reviewed and presented, but I wanted to make sure that was declared in front of you if anyone had any issues or objections.
If you're comfortable, I am.
Very good.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
sounds good.
You need a vote on that?
No?
Yeah.
If somebody has concern.
Yep.
I'd also like to bring to your attention to some comments that have been made by another board member publicly expressing some questioning about whether this mobile home project is appropriate for the location where it's proposed. That's Mr. Veit. He has sent a letter to the town council and a letter to the enterprise, and I'd like to bring this to the board's attention about whether or not, and question whether or not Mr. Veit should be participating in this review.
Mr. Chair, do you know what the nature of those letters were?
I do. That was back,
It was quite a while ago.
that was, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was during the contract zone process. I'll be honest, I don't know how to go from where we're at to where we need to go through to hash this out. I know, I did read a copy of the letter that, I don't know if it was the same letter sent to both places.
I don't know. I sent one to the town council, and I was told it was covered up. It was never presented. So that was never actually presented to the town, according to local newspaper.
So I don't know.
Very odd.
I have no knowledge of anything like that. I don't know. I don't even know what to, like, questions. Should we ask questions? Should we go around the board here and ask? George, go ahead, please.
What was the nature of the letter or report? I don't think I'm even aware of it.
Several years ago, I was the lake steward for Silver Lake, and as was Chris Johnson. And so the question came up, since at that time I monitored that lake, I no longer do. We presented it to the Volunteer Lake Monitoring Program, and they checked it out with the state, the person who will eventually review this at DEP. And he gave us his findings and numbers for phosphorus output, and so it was just his findings on that and his belief that it would be very difficult to use any engineering feats to try to lower the phosphorus to a point where it would be acceptable. So he presented those findings to me, and I just shared them with the town in the paper and presented them to the town council a month before the meeting. And when the meeting came, it was never presented. It was just buried. It's a local paper. Usually the town people, before a meeting, they'll get all the information that's being presented. It was never presented. It was never discussed. And it was just kind of covered up. So it ended up in the paper and circulated around town. A few of us knew about it, and that was that. And then one of the members of the board left right after that. It went to the Maine Municipal Association, the contract zone. The present zone for trailer parks sits on top of Mount Olive, and it all drains into the Narragansett River, which goes out to the sea. And so we created what they believe was an illegal contract zone that drained into our water source and hopefully our future salmon facility.
That letter was that prior to the level 1 and 2 review? That was prior to that?
It was after the contract zone,
contract zone.
that the Volunteer Lake people looked at it and said, they have an expert at the state level, Jeff Dennis, who is the head of watershed management. He's an expert on phosphorus and phosphorus mitigation, etc. And so they suggested he look at it, and then he presented his findings, and I just shared those findings as the steward of the lake at that time.
How long ago was this, Steve?
On the timeline you gave, it would have been, that Jeff gave, the timeline, it would have been just around the time of the contract zone being approved.
Which was?
March 1st, 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. it was last
So sometime after the February meeting, between the February and March meeting.
So where, I'm with George, this is the absolute first I've heard of it. Where'd the information go?
Where'd it go?
Yeah.
It was in the local paper, and then I guess it circulated among a lot of people, because I got a lot of phone calls about it, and people calling me and saying, why are you accepting this? Why is the board accepting this if it's not a legal contract zone? And so at some point the Maine Municipal Association was called one of their attorneys, and the attorney said it's an illegal contract zone, so it should never been made in the first place. And that was it. They just gave us that information, and I didn't know what to do with it, so we just presented it to the town council. They covered it up, and that was it. Then they voted to approve it. So it was out of my hands at that point.
What does cover up mean?
Usually when you have a town council meeting, the local newspaper and the public get all the information that's being presented to the town council. It's public information, and it was given to them a month ahead of the meeting, maybe a little over a month ahead, and talking to the newspaper, they never received anything. They said when the letter eventually surfaced that people saw it, it was like, oh, geez, we were at the meeting, we never saw this. And I don't know, the exact mechanics of it, but it just disappeared. It was presented to them, the public never saw it, local newspaper never saw it until the Friends of Silver Lake, someone posted it on their mail list, and then it became more public and ended up appearing in the paper.
Is this a game changer, I mean, on this thing?
No.
I don't know. I think it has to go to the DEP, and I think they'll be the final arbiter.
I guess my question would be, if it is a big deal, such a game changer, I can't believe it was kept a secret all this long, if it's that big a deal.
Well, I believe we're several steps beyond
Yeah.
that issue now.
Yeah, we're beyond that now.
Subdivision
Once it
review,
was
so-
approved, it's approved. Once the town council
So I guess
approves
it's
it.
really not an issue then anymore.
Mitigation is in the verb.
Yeah, the mitigation is in this piece of engineering. They mitigate the phosphorus to a point that's acceptable.
Okay.
And it becomes a numbers game at that point between the engineer and, I assume, the DEP.
So do you feel you have a bias or an issue?
I think it's a numbers game. So if the numbers fit, there's no way around it,
Are you concerned that you should abstain from vote?
I guess it depends what the vote is on. But like I said, these are numbers that are provided by an engineer, and what can you say?
No, but I mean for everything else that comes
I don't think so, no. If I feel I have a bias, I would just not abstain.
Mr. Chair, does the applicant have a position to object to anything?
Is that, can we ask, would you like to, do you have anything, a comment or anything?
No, I have no problem in voting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a numbers game. Your engineer's done an incredible job here, and amazing mitigation. But that's our job to look at and thumbs up or thumbs down based on the numbers.
Mitigation looks good.
I don't know. I don't have that experience to say one way or another. That's one of the things I was concerned about tonight, was to have an engineer review that for our benefit. So that we're comfortable.
I believe if the engineer's
So we'd have to have another engineer.
numbers,
Guys, one at a time,
Jive.
please.
you just have to give it a thumbs up, and it becomes not between us and the applicant, it becomes between the applicant and DEP, because I think they're the ones who are going to really,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah, can we, one conversation at a time, please?
it's not between us and the applicant. I mean, the numbers are numbers, and they're either good or they're bad. And we determine that if they look good, it's thumbs up. And then the game becomes not between us and the applicant, it becomes between the Department of Environmental Protection looking at it and giving their opinion, their insight.
Did I misinterpret or misunderstand something I read? Did I read something in here that the DEP does not or will not review this?
It's my understanding, there's no deposit of the threshold of needing a stormwater permit or soil
It will
permit.
require a DEP stormwater permit. They will basically see the exact same package you have there.
Yeah.
We've already had our pre-application meeting where the man presented what the information we have before you, the board tonight, as a start up for the permit, and they reviewed it and asked for some additional details.
Can we hold on for 1 second? If we're gonna go back and forth, can the people come up to the podium, please?
Yeah, that way,
Yeah,
it's
if
part
you,
of the,
if you'd like to
Sure.
just do a presentation
Yeah,
and
I
then we
was
can ask
thinking
questions.
that maybe if I just do a little quick presentation
Yeah.
about the phosphorus, which seems to be the subject that everybody is concerned with, and duly so. Just turn this a little bit here. We did run through the town's requirements for a phosphorus study, which are, they refer back to the DEP standards, Chapter 500 regulations for phosphorus control in the lake watershed. Silver Lake is a body of water of special significance because it's a drinking water supply. So we need to meet the phosphorus standard. The state allocates a per acre phosphorus loading that's allowable from each property, which we started with this property, and developed a treatment system where we're collecting all of the runoff and putting it through preserved vegetated buffers. 95% of the entire project is going into a buffer in some location here. There's only one small filtration pond located right here where we weren't able to get a natural buffer. And it's basically taking some of the internal lots and capturing those in roadside ditches and conveying it to this pond. The DEP recommends and wants you to use natural buffers to the greatest extent possible because they feel that they get the best treatment from that and it doesn't take a lot of maintenance. So it's their preferred option is to use vegetated buffers, wooded buffers, or meadow buffers. On this site, we mostly have all wooded buffers. And in the package that we presented to you is all of the DEP calculation sheets that come right from their, these are all their worksheets that come right out of their regulations, which details out what our allocation is allowable, and through all the treatment is all summarized in all of the summary sheets. And once we finished with everything, we came up and was slightly less than what we were allowed to upon completion. Therefore, we meet their phosphorus standard and their stormwater control standard. Everything you have before you is part of the DEP stormwater application that will be processed. It has to be processed and approved before the project can be operational.
Does anybody monitor that in a year or two time? Does
Yes. Yep.
Who monitors?
The DEP. Yep. The DEP, as part of their permit, once they get their permit, is going to have a requirement in there, and I think it's a 3-year recertification forever. So every 3 years, we go in, we inspect it, we have to write a report on it, that gets submitted back to the DEP. If there's any problems, if there's any discrepancies or anything, those get reported, and then they either have to be remedied or corrected. So it is heavily monitored for the duration. All stormwater permits with any control structures are heavily monitored for the lifetime that they exist.
You keep going if you...
I keep it, no,
Yeah.
no, I just answer any questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Has the board settled the question about bias from every member?
Yeah, I thought, in my mind, I mean, should we vote on that? I mean, but in my mind, if the applicant's okay, then I'm okay.
Just want to make certain it's clearly reflected in the record.
So, should we vote on that?
That would be one way to clarify.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
That's a motion.
You can.
That there doesn't appear to be any bias.
Right.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion? I
I
see
guess
some.
I'm unclear. With Mr. Bishop, we didn't have to take a vote to make it part of the record, but in this case, we do.
Well, maybe we're looking at both. You know, I said any, so,
Then I would suggest we look at both.
yeah, so
and make
we're
it
including
part
both of
the
them. You know, any bias by any board member.
I've heard enough from both of them. I'm in favor of that motion. I
Okay.
second that.
All in favor that there is no bias? right? Is that
I
what
guess
the-
I can vote for the other Steve.
Good to go.
So I don't know if we've already put the cart before the horse, but should we go through with the presentation, questions and answers, or look at the application first to see if it's
I'm bringing up on the
complete?
screen what I think is the next step for the board, because I know you're a little rusty on subdivision reviews. You haven't done one, at least one full subdivision review like this one, for a number of years. But one step that you're not accustomed to doing when you do a site plan review is you have to determine, when you do a subdivision review, if the application is complete. And that's done right up front. And
So let's go back to that.
I'm showing on the screen now the application content that a stage 3 application needs to have in order for it to be complete. And maybe perhaps just a brochure will go through this list and let us know if you addressed the content or if it's not applicable.
I don't know that I've got that.
I have it right here if you want it.
I know I prepared the application with all of those, so I can actually, and I think that I labeled them all according to section 7, starting on page 1 in the application. But I can go through,
Section development.
I think I should go through every bulleted item for all of section 7. Okay. Okay, the stage 3 application, 7.6, the first bullet, statement that a variance has been granted from a subdivision standard and a description of the variance if applicable. We're not required or requesting any variances on any required standards that the town has. Statement that a waiver has been granted from a subdivision standard and a description of the waiver if applicable. We're not requesting any waivers. We meet all of the requirements. A statement that the subdivision is exempt from site location of development review by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection if applicable. We addressed that in the application by meeting with the DEP for our pre-application with our stormwater permit. It was determined that the only permit that was required by them was the stormwater permit, because the aggregate area of the subdivision total was less than 30 acres, and it was for residential purposes. A statement that the lowest floor, including basements for principal structures in a floodplain, must be located no less than 1 foot above the 100-year flood elevation. We're well above the flood elevation, the entire property. Statement that any driveway or entrance onto a state aid highway conforms to Title 23, subsection 704, and any rules adopted under that section. We have the entrance to the subdivision will require a entrance permit. Upon approval, that permit will be secured, and we will meet all of those, be required to meet all those standards. Statement that any private street within the subdivision must be maintained by the developer or road maintenance association if applicable. That information is included in here, where we state that all roads, sewer, services, water, everything is the responsibility of the developer. Statement that planning board approval is required for a subsequent revision or amendment to the approved subdivision plat. That is on both the sheets that will be registered in the registry of deeds. They're on the Mylar, on the face of the Mylar, which is actually sheet C101 and 102 of your application package. Statement that lots for single-family dwelling and accessory structures only. That's noted on the plans as well. a statement of approval on the final plat with the wording. I won't go through all the wording, but both plat plans that will be registered under the approval notes contains the exact language which is included. And a signature block for 7 planning board signatures, which is also on there. And area for handwritten comments if needed. 8 paper copies of subdivision plat and 1 polyester film copy must be provided for stage review. We provided the 8 paper copies and brought the Mylars with us tonight. The next is the following documents must be submitted with the application. Written office of cession to the municipality for all public open space shown on the plat, and copies of agreements or other documents showing the manner in which spaces, title to which is reserved by the applicant, are to be maintained. There are no public spaces offered in the subdivision, so that doesn't apply. Written evidence that the municipal officers are satisfied with the legal sufficiency of the documents referred to above. I believe that that comes through the town's review.
I think it's referring to the written office of session, I think.
Okay. A list of the construction items that will be completed by the developer prior to the sale of lots. List of the construction maintenance. There's a narrative included in the application. Written evidence of any performance guarantees provided with section 10. We aren't required to provide any performance guarantees because we're not going to be asking the town to take over any portion of this project. Documentation of any required dimensional variance from the Board of Appeals. We are not requiring any dimensional variances. Copy of any required entrance permit from the Maine Department of Transportation. We haven't gotten that yet because we need to get the approval of the project first for a road. So sort of putting the cart before the horse, but we will, if that becomes a condition of an approval, we don't have any trouble with that we will get that. 7.8, the applicant or a road association must maintain all required improvements, provide for snow removal on streets and sidewalks within the approved subdivision until acceptance of the improvements of the municipal officers. Again, the application is not requesting the town take over any portion of this project, and all maintenance will be borne by the applicant. And that's everything in section 7.
So that documents the required information on the plat that has been verified before you make a determination of completeness. So you're actually looking at the entire package, which includes supplemental documentation that you'll use to evaluate whether all the development standards in Section 8 have been met. And I included in your packet, by the way, a copy of Section 8 that's slightly modified. I added in the standards that apply specifically to mobile home parks, so you can compare. In some cases, you're reviewing the standards of Section 8 directly. In some cases, they're modified a little bit to apply to mobile home parks. So you have a copy of that and get a copy of the applicant as well. I don't have that to show on the screen tonight, though, but hopefully you took some time to go through that, and so maybe the process will move along a little faster. But I would suggest you do that first, go through the development standards before you determine if the entire package is complete, just in case you might find something that you need to have a little bit more information about, and would have to be brought back to you at a later date.
All right, so we'll start with Section 8, Development Standards. I guess I'll just read them out. We'll say, Section 8.2, lots and blocks. if everyone has everyone taken the time to read through this, I hope, prior to tonight? Does anybody have any questions about anything in section 8.2? Ed, go ahead.
Right. Your map does not show any areas for open space, storage, recreational use, community gardens, walkways, nothing. I mean, this is a, quote, an estates community. I don't see any streetlights or CMP right-of-ways. I mean, any layout for all the power needed. Fire service there, I don't see any hydrants or how fire service is going to be completed on that site. I would expect there could be a dry hydrant out of the lake or connections to the 2 pump houses or something. Don't really see any we don't see any before and after. We see the existing contours on the map, but you don't see any of the proposed elevations and gradings on this. I understand the buffers and all the septic systems, those are fine, and the filter system. A little curious, there is Silver Lake Trails pretty close to this particular lot. I didn't know if there was any outreach of those public trails being thought of. Connecting to them. This would be just a continuation of the existing ones.
Jim, you might
Would
comment
you
on
like to
some-
comment on each?
Yep, I think I
those
wrote
items?
down each
Okay.
item. In regards to the streetlights, power poles, and all of that, the power company, once a plan is approved, they take that plan, and all of those power poles will be located within the road right-of-ways. They establish their own locations. We can't show those. So everything is going to be located within the road right-of-way. We also, in the application package, we provided detailed plan and profiles with proposed grades and everything for all of the roadways within the subdivision to show how all they will be built and all the drainage and everything. Each individual lot will be developed individually based on what type of mobile home they put in there. So we didn't go in and design all the pads for all the lots. We made some general assumptions based on the construction of the roadways where everything was going to be draining, which makes a lot of sense, and didn't get into the individual grading of each individual lot. In regards to open spaces and public spaces, there's a significant amount of undeveloped land between this project and Silver Lake, which I know the applicant has suggested that as part of his project, which he'll be managing himself, he's going to want this to be very nice. He's going to want to make it attractive. He's going to want people to be there. That he is probably going to be establishing some trails in there, but he's not prepared a formal plan for that. But that is the intent down the road, to have that, and maybe even have a small dock down onto the lake in some location possibly. But there's no formal plans for that. That's not part of this approval process or the project, but that is his intent.
And would that not alter the phosphorus output?
trails?
As long as, we would have to go get approval from the DEP if we built any trails or anything, they would have to be footpaths. So we have to be a little careful, but there are ways to do minor things so that people can walk and access the shoreline without causing any increased problems. So I think I got all of it.
So, power system will be basically within the road right away?
Yes.
And streetlights?
Yeah, and
probably?
and we'll figure out on the street lighting what we need once the power poles are up, because it's going to be related to where they put their power poles.
We're gonna have clustered transformers? Probably?
I would say that, again, I would have to look at what the electric company gives me for poles and layout, but...
Where they're clustered, where the lots are clustered like that.
Yeah, well, I think probably we may end up with some pad-mounted that serve several lots, if I had to guess. That's what, we're going to have to work with the power company to come up with that plan.
Any other questions on 8.2? We move to 8.3. Any questions with 8.3?
Not for me.
It's based on the right-of-way is 23 feet and 20-foot paved. Yep. Yeah, we went exactly by the town standards.
And the road surface type,
Paved.
it is paved now. Boy, that's, wow.
It has to be paved.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It was originally talked about gravel, that's why
No,
I
if it's
said.
private, it has to be paid.
I believe your ordinance says it has to be paved. Doesn't?
Save you a lot of money.
I mean, that's what it says right there.
What's the effective date of that?
But this is the one you gave me.
That changed
What are you
after
looking
that.
at?
8.3, did it?
Yeah, they just changed that ordinance.
Oh, okay.
So, but we're good, we want to pay it, so,
Yeah.
Well, that'd be really nice.
yeah.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying here. It does say,
Yeah.
look at that. That was,
Would-
mobile
Which
Right.
section's that, Jeff?
8.3, it's from the standard for mobile home parks.
In the italics.
Yeah, in italics, right. It says the street right of way must be
Must be
23
paved.
23 feet wide, of which 20 feet must be paved.
Oh, wow.
That's just specifically for mobile home parks, so not for other types of
Oh, interesting.
subdivisions, which now don't require pavement.
Any other questions about 8.3?
Only if it's privately, if it's on the privately maintained. Town doesn't accept the street.
For the town, if the mobile home park owner asked the town to accept the streets, they would need to be paved if they weren't already.
Seeing no other questions, I'll move on to 8.4, traffic and access management.
I had one before tonight, but after all the department heads have reviewed and the police chief has given his stamp to it, that's all I need to know. I'm good.
Okay.
Is there currently an entrance granted by DEP for an entrance permit for that now, or DOT?
DOT. No, we just met with them and they said, well, once you get the plan done so we can see what you've got for a subdivision, then then we'll grant the permit. But they wanted to see an approved plan because they didn't want to grant us an entrance permit if we ended up not getting approval. Because then they would have this entrance permit that doesn't go anywhere, and they
Right.
don't want those.
Okay, thank you.
You should note, by the way, in your approval of the subdivision, that is subject to at least one condition, which would be that the applicant gets the entrance
The
permit
permit.
from the DOT.
Right, yep.
And there's only one entrance, right? There's
One
no-
entrance,
yeah.
yes.
It originally forked, so it did change. It originally came out.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah, from the original sketch
Yeah.
plans, it did change.
That's the, of those two houses.
Does that entrance exit impact anyone across the street with headlights or anything?
No.
It's hard to tell on here because there's not any other.
It's right about where the entrance is right now.
No, there isn't anybody.
There isn't anything across the way.
Anything else on 8.4? Move to 8.5, utilities. You mentioned transformers on the ground. Would that be in the right of way as well? Or would they be behind, where would they go? Not a lot of-
Depending
doesn't
on-
seem like there's a lot of room.
Yeah, they wouldn't be within the right-of-way. They would be probably centered in a location where they could,
property
a
line.
common property line where they could get to some of because all of the lots within the subdivision are going to be maintained under one ownership. It's really not there's no fee title transfer of any properties here. They're just leased lots.
Yeah, they
that-
lease the property.
that
Yeah.
the developer can pretty much locate them where the hydro says, so you need to put them
Okay.
here.
But the supply lines will be overhead,
The supply lines will be overhead, yeah.
and go underground to the
If they go to
pad
pad
mounts,
mounts, yeah.
from the pole,
Yeah.
wherever the pad mounts will be underground then.
Yep.
To the house, to the pad. Any other questions on utilities? Groundwater, section 8.6. I see there's a well, and by that, what you call the filtration pond.
Yep,
Uh,
yeah, there's actually two well locations right now. Another thing that I failed to mention, but should have brought up earlier, is the operation of this mobile home park will require other state permits for running a mobile home park. One part of that is that the well supply for the project is considered a public drinking water supply, so they'll be required to have licensing under the Maine Drinking Water Program, where they're going to have to be subject to testing, annual testing and quality throughout the whole life of the project, so.
How often is that tested?
They'll drill the well initially, do the yields, do the testing, then the state will review it, determine what type of treatment, if any, it may not need any, that they need, and then I believe it's every 2 years it has to be tested again.
I have a concern how close that is to an old landfill.
Right.
I don't know that. Okay.
It's fairly superficial, though. The wells will be deeper than
I've known of others where water was contaminated because of landfills.
It will be monitored
Yeah.
according to their program. And possibly when the DEP drinking water program gets this, they may actually, because of the landfill, they may actually require testing more often. I know generally it's 2 years, but they can ask for a yearly relicensing too. So,
Is there anything that says that neighboring homes have to be tested for at the same time?
I'm not aware of anything on neighboring wells or abutting wells to these, to a public well like this will be involved in this project.
Anything else on groundwater? .7 wastewater.
Can we go back to groundwater just?
Sure.
for a moment?
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
There's a lot of information that
There.
in there. The business of being 1,000 feet from potential contamination sources. Are we over 1,000 feet from the monitoring wells and the
Landfill?
landfill?
We're over 1,000 feet from the landfill. I'm not aware of where all their monitoring wells are.
Well, the landfill itself would be the contamination source, right? It wouldn't be the monitoring well.
Right.
The landfill itself would be the contamination source, not the monitoring well.
Right.
Yeah, they're
I'm
just
just kinda
checking,
curious
checking
how far
on
we
it.
are
Yeah.
from those.
This has already been subject to soil samples, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's been no issues.
Thinking about future contamination of these wells, what you're gonna do if that happens.
How long has that landfill been there already?
Well, that landfill's gonna keep on leaching for the next 100,000 years.
Yeah. How long has it been capped?
About 15 years.
That's gotta be 10.
That's pretty,
Is it 10? At least 10, isn't it? That was long
They
enough.
capped the fill.
I used to hunt rats out there, and I was
So
trying
me
to
too.
remember. It's been quite a while.
So have they ever found anything in the monitoring wells? Are we aware of?
Who's been getting the reports on that?
Oh, I could probably the town manager this notes. I'm not aware of any issue.
I've not heard of anything.
I sold
I
a
don't
house
think there are some
right next to it.
monitoring wells from
Nothing.
the transfer
Nothing, okay,
station.
that's a good indicator.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? The agents.
Was it that
Well,
long ago?
they'll be
You had no issues with soil samples though,
No,
at all?
no, we haven't, yeah. And we're not aware of any, we don't have any documentation, but we're not aware of any contaminants in any abutting wells either.
Thank you.
So we move on to 8.7 wastewater.
It's going.
So what's shown on the drawing for the subsurface disposal systems? Are those the tanks themselves, or are they?
No, those are the septic fields.
Okay.
Those are the fields. We've got to, once we get the roads and things in, and we're gonna do our, you can see we've laid out all of our piping system. We may have some tanks associated with that, maybe even some pumping systems to collect it and get it to where it's going. The collection system will be just as it's shown there, but it may contain other components. And when we build each individual lot, we'll also have a tank for that lot.
You said maybe some pumping systems. And what's the variable in that with your plan now?
Well, probably about 25% of the lines probably will need some type of pumping. But it'll be a gray water pumping system, not a grinder pump, because we'll end up using tanks on each individual lot to reduce the flows. Yeah. But that gets, it's kind of an as-built design as we work through the development of the project.
This thing, the development's kind of involved. You look at the roadway profiles
Yeah.
and stuff. So some of the leach fields are gonna be above the pads. Most of the leach fields serve more than one unit.
Right.
You know, anywhere from 4 to 9 units. So, yeah, you're gonna end up, some units gonna end up pumping up to the leach field.
So you said each lot will have its own tank,
Yeah.
all 1,000-gallon tank, or?
It'll depend on the number of bedrooms in the house. There'll be anywhere from 750 to 1,000 gallons, depending on what goes in.
But number trailer could change. So if you come in with a smaller trailer, so a certain trailer couldn't go on a certain
Yeah.
lot then?
We'll need to meet the Department of Human Services plumbing regulations for all the designs, so. Right. No, these aren't engineered systems. Every system is below 2,000 gallons, so they're not engineered systems.
I thought on some lots where there was, two lots could share a 1,000-gallon tank
Yeah.
if there were
Yes.
2 bedrooms each.
Yes, they could. We'll definitely have to look at that as we develop each of the individual lots, or people move into that, how many bedrooms they have. So we're going to have to pay attention to all
Who's we?
that.
So there'll be,
The developer,
Yeah.
he's going to be installing all of this
so
as a developer and the owner.
I'm confused now. He said each lot would have its own tank, but like Dave just said, I did read where one tank could serve multiple lots.
It could, yes.
So is it going to have, so which way is it going to be each lot has its own tank?
Each lot will
or-
have access to a tank. Each lot will go into a tank before it
So
goes
there won't
into
be,
the line.
there won't necessarily be 48 tanks?
Right,
Okay.
right.
And those lots that are going to be one septic tank to 2 lots, they'd have to be, that's the ones that would have to be made sure that there weren't 3 bedrooms.
Right, and that's why I say we have to be careful of
Yeah.
how we do that. So we're going to have to plan everything out. We could do that. There may be instances where we do that, but then we'd know if we moved a mobile home out and moved one that's twice as big in, we may have to replace a septic tank. So possibly we may look at larger tanks, but we'll make that decision as the lots, I think, get developed and what goes in.
All those septic systems are subject to inspection from Jeff
That's right.
anyway, correct?
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's-
Any other questions or comments on wastewater?
Just if you could explain, it says they're all non-engineered. What does that mean?
Well,
beds,
the
septic beds.
Maine State Plumbing Code determines that if you want to develop a subsurface disposal field that exceeds 2,000 gallons, then the design of that has to be designed and engineered by a registered professional engineer. Anything below 2,000 gallons can be designed by a site evaluator, which is the same type of person that would do each residential home. So if you had a home and you wanted to do one there. Engineered systems are generally associated with a large rural school or something like that, where they would have a big system. They require a lot more investigation, a lot more soil testing. The design is more complicated. I guess in summary, that's generally. I don't know, Jeff, if you wanted to add anything to that, or if that covered it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that tank size or a flow rate, 2,000 gallons?
Gallons per day.
Anything else? On wastewater. Section 8.8, solid waste. Any questions? I assume it'll be a contractor or something?
Yeah. have a dumpster location, and or he may do pickup.
Section 8.9, erosion control.
Silver Lake be considered a great pond?
It is.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Well, the work they've done to contain the phosphorus, it seems to me, the grading is pretty well set. I don't see any huge issues with
Okay. Okay, to move on to 8.10, buffers. I don't know if this is a silly question or not, but I just have a question about forested buffer number 7 up at the top of the plan. It just seems like it's, oh, we need one more. Let's throw it up there. Is that
Maybe I could just...
up here? It's away from all the
I guess if you look at the phosphorus control plan, what you'll see is there is a ditch that comes down here and drains everything into here, and there's a level lip spreader here. It shows on the plan and profile sheets.
Right, yep.
So,
As on that's a plat plan map there, which just shows areas of the property that by deed can't be disturbed.
Okay, I guess, is there a setback requirement or anything for those? I mean, can you put them right on the property line?
It's just woods.
I understand that, but it's meant as a filter for the storm runoff.
No, there's no required setback.
Okay, I didn't know. It just seems like that's the only one that's, well, it's not a structure, but it has an intent. It's an
Deeded.
To capture the phosphorus, and
So-
it can't be developed, so it's set aside.
all right.
We had mentioned earlier the DEP wanted the maximum natural resources used available, so I think that's just...
Any other questions?
Were there any assumptions built into the phosphorus mitigation?
I guess do you have a specific question?
No, I was just curious
Like-
what assumptions were built into the calculation.
Well, we went
Specific.
through the DEP's requirements, and we investigated each buffer area and did just hand soil test pits to determine the infiltration rate that we could expect within those buffer areas. Also did a general inventory of the vegetation there and the microtopography to ensure that we didn't have any major channels or anything like that. So each of the buffer areas that are shown in that plan have been investigated and all meet the intent.
Thank you.
Anything else? 8.11, natural resources. So I will admit that this phosphorus calculation is new to me, so the budget shows 2.25, 623, and the export came in at 2.14. So is that a huge difference, or is it just getting under the wire type of thing?
Basically, what I will say is, the DP has said this property can export, let me get to the right one here. 2.25623 pounds per phosphorus a year without having an adverse impact on the lake. That's from this property. They're saying that phosphorus is a naturally occurring element. You just don't want too much of it. So they're saying that much can come from this property.
Mm-hmm.
So we're showing that we're coming in at less than that. So it's just a number or a standard we need to meet. It's not like we're just coming under the wire or anything. We just need to meet that loading calculation, or that loading, the maximum amount of loading.
So I guess my curiosity is if one thing goes wrong with one of these lip spreaders, buffer area, is that going to throw that number off?
No.
Greatly?
No.
So it's not something that's extremely sensitive, or?
No. Not in this instance, no.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Natural resources?
Can't think of anything applicable here.
Is that a deer habitat out there? I mean, is it identified as a deer habitat, or?
As many has been hit by cars through the years, I would think,
Yeah, there's plenty of deer out there. There's plenty of places for them to go too.
But
so.
it's not identified as a deer yard or anything.
I don't think so. Would it come up sometime?
There's a lot of stuff in here that I don't even have an idea of the answer for it. That's why I'm curious.
This is actually the standard where you do want to document that the applicant is meeting the phosphorus standard. And the main stormwater design manual is how it's done. And then this ordinance here says what the maximum export per acre is.
Mhm.
So this is where you want to be certain that the applicant has documented that they're fine with this.
So pre-treatment is 10.55, which is over 2.25. So he has to mitigate,
Right.
he has to reduce that
Right.
to below that. And
Yep.
we're to 2.14 after mitigation. But this is something Watershed is DEP Bangor or DEP Augusta? looking
This
at?
is Bangor. Yep.
This is Bangor, okay.
Yep.
So they'll look at these numbers and see if they jive.
Yes.
That's really their job,
Yep.
more than ours, I think.
So the steep slope acreage listed in the calculation, I think I read that it's over 20%. Is
Yeah.
that the slope?
Yes.
Anybody else? Move on to 8.12, historic and scenic areas. questions on that? Someone can back me up if they do, but I'm gonna go on to 8.13, flood hazard area. And I think that's
Doesn't
pretty
seem
quick, because it's not in the flood zone.
No.
so if we get water
Really
there, we've got some
deep
issues.
lake.
So they're 100 feet above us.
8.14, reserved land.
There was original talk of a community center, that's still out of the picture.
It's out of the picture, yes.
Is that area going to be wooded now?
Yeah, it'll just be maintained as it is for right now, yep.
Any questions, any other questions on reserved land?
Are we considering the fact that the undeveloped land is gonna be for recreational purposes? Not reserved, but
14.1, 10% of that land that's not part of the parcels has to be for open space or recreational use.
I'd say that
Place
yeah,
has
we're
more than
not,
four lots.
we're not reserving any land as part of our application. We have additional lands on the property that can be used as such, but we're not actually proposing any formal reserved lands as part of the application.
Our outline, it looks like it says that we must require.
Now it has to be.
Yeah.
So does that just mean that you can't occupy the entire lot with mobile homes? You know, so it's a 59-acre lot,
How many acres are
and there's
in the taken up by lots?
gotta be,
I don't have that number,
they're 12,000 apiece.
but we've got roads.
Well, you also have, for 10%, you have that huge triangular space where you go in.
Yeah, that's 6
But I-
acres. You
but
gotta
I
have
guess,
6 acres of
You know, I
open
said,
space.
Yeah.
it says the planning board may require any subdivision to reserve up to 10%.
And then below that it says
It
the
says
board.
must
Okay.
require more than 4 lots to reserve up to 10%.
I don't think that would be an issue, though. That's something you could just adjust to designate an open space for in here.
But there's gotta be more than 6 acres of open space with all, I mean, you come in and off the road quite a ways
Right,
before you
yeah.
hit a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, all of our lots, our roads, our buffers, our septic areas total 27.4 acres.
So it's
So it's half.
And it's-
32 acres left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's plenty of open space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
wooded and it's
814.2
not a
tells us
soccer
what we
field,
need to
but it's
consider.
still open.
But at least 10% of that 32 acres has to be developed as recreation or
10%
open space or
of the open
Yeah.
space has to be developed for recreation?
I don't think it says
I don't think it's specific. I think we could just leave it as
just set aside,
set aside.
Yeah, okay.
which it appears to be.
is the thought that this is over 55 supposedly?
Yeah.
That's gone, I believe.
Is that, what's that?
That over 55 is gone. This town council got rid of that, I believe.
Well, they're taken out of the contract zone, but it's still the intention of the
Of the
developer
developer.
to
Yeah.
have that limitation.
All right, well, I've been told by people familiar that that stipulation was no longer thought of. I mean, is it still 55 and older?
It's in the contract zone, I believe, right?
No, it's taken out of.
No, it's taken out of the contract.
It's in the agreement, though.
No, it's,
Well, it's still 55,
the town council did not want to issue approval of that contract zone agreement with that stipulation. They weren't comfortable doing that, so they deleted that reference, but the owner of the property certainly can still do that, and that's his intention, to limit it to 55 and over.
I apologize, that was a mistake.
But can you do that legally? Wouldn't that be age discrimination? Yeah.
Landlords can do it.
So are we good on reserved land? I don't- Is there a question?
Yeah.
I'm looking at
I'd
George.
just like to see.
No, it certainly seems like there's
It
plenty
wouldn't
of
be the
reserved land
concentration of
with the designs
this
very
number of
nicely laid out.
potential people living, it seems like there ought to be some space for, you know, sitting on an easy chair someplace, even if you're over 55, you might want to go out and swing occasionally. I don't know, it seems like a lot of people in that neighborhood without any
Anything
way
we
to
do.
recreate, if we don't have some set aside. Huh?
Give them all a four-wheeler.
Well, they can't take four-wheelers out there. It's
Bicycle.
disruptive.
Bicycles and tricycles, good exercise.
Right.
I guess I would just mention that, where we're in a sensitive watershed of the lake, and, it'd be nice to go in and build a acre lawn and park and everything, but as soon as we do that, then now we've got to try to treat the phosphorus from that.
Right.
So that's why I think our thoughts were to, just do some natural trails, things of that nature that don't result in any increased phosphorus loading. So leaving the open space requirement as open as possible, I think, would be, in this case, due to the location of this development, would be in the best interest.
Okay.
There is also, too, an established recreational area right next door to this property.
The Silver Lake
Silver
Trails. Yeah.
And I think there might be plans to connect to that.
Tie them in. That'd be very cool. Yeah.
You can go mountain climbing on the landfill.
Sounds good.
Well, it'd be really nice. It's a nice trail.
Are we good with reserved land?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Financial and technical, I'm sorry?
It's gonna be up to the
Yeah.
developer.
8.15, financial and technical capacity. How do we judge that? I mean,
Jeff,
Is there some sort of evaluation you need to go through for financial and technical capacity?
Whatever you're comfortable with, and maybe just a statement from the applicant.
What this is asking us is if you have the adequate financial resources to construct the proposed improvements and meet the criteria of the subdivision and so on. If you have the resources capable of
we don't have,
Right.
technically able to repair and maintain. Lefty Goosey, ready steady.
we don't have that. We don't have that.
We don't have one, a statement or
Yes.
what do we need?
What would you typically have?
I mean, is there a bank statement or a letter of credit or something?
Other investors that are helping out, maybe?
Right at the moment, we don't have an estimate of value of construction.
right. Even then,
And it would be hard to get that because
It's mainly ground.
he needs this before he can get that, and you can't get that before you get this. And
Is there a
There's
proposed
enough
cost for the
information in that
project?
development.
We haven't developed a proposed cost at this time. I will say that the applicant certainly has the capability of constructing the project as we've designed it. He has also retained my company as the technical expert on the project. So he is a local contractor. And that would only be just our opinion on that. So
I don't understand how you,
How you would evaluate it?
yeah, we don't have any right to look at his finances. I mean, I hope he makes it, but if he starts a project and
He
He
can't
can't make it,
can't
that's-
finish it,
that
then he
shouldn't be
can't
out.
open it.
right,
I mean, that's another thing is, if he, builds half of his road, and then decides he doesn't want to finish the project, it's not going to pay out for him. It's only his cost that's lost, because no impact to the town would occur.
So I don't know what how to satisfy 8.15, but if anyone else has any comments,
I guess the concern would be that you would get partway into the project, have roads or enough construction in place and not have the mitigation.
Well, at that point, too, he would violate his main stormwater application, and then they would come after him
Right.
to take care of that.
So that's really a DEP issue, that they would handle that, so we don't have to worry about that.
Right.
I could almost, in section 8.15.2, it says the applicant must demonstrate adequate technical ability to supervise, construct the required improvements, and so on and so forth. I think probably just by the fact that he's hired an engineering firm might.
Well, and that he
Might
does this, he
satisfy
does
that.
this for a living, too.
yeah, do we
He
need
makes
go
his
get a
living
set of
doing
tools
this.
and make sure he has a whole.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's a.
Okay.
You've done roads before, right? Yeah. One or two? Yeah. So he's a pro at this.
So
Is there I guess, for the developer, is there an expectation on a development time? 2 years? Maybe?
Do you want to know when you expect the project to be completed or started?
Completed?
Yeah, I guess that's weather permitting and everything, I mean, I'm getting kind of a late jump on it now. I'd like to have some homes on there probably by summer next year, but it's hard to tell. Depends how fast it freezes up this year.
DEP have a lot to do with that.
You know, you're doing 48 lots,
Yeah.
and people aren't gonna move in there and want construction for the next 3 or 4 years, or you only do 4 lots a year. They don't want 12 years of construction going on around them. So,
That's entertainment.
Which lots will you
Entertainment.
fill first? Is there
Yeah.
an idea of which
I-
lots are?
I'm not sure.
You don't know?
We have to,
It-
it's got- you can see on the plans, we've got different lanes. We're gonna try to fill, so we don't have to go by it. You know what I
Right,
mean?
it makes sense. So
Maybe
in the
that's
back.
kinda why it's designed the way it is, so we'll do our best, but.
do the back lots first.
Right, exactly.
maybe.
They'll get the view, maybe.
So
First cut.
stop me if you think we should, but I'm going to move on to 8.16, zoning and land use.
We've already taken care of that.
We have,
Contract.
oh, right.
With the contract zone, and 8.18.1.3, they're 12,000 square foot lots. A couple are a little bigger, I think. but-
Yeah.
Any questions on zoning and land use?
The minimum front yard in our subdivision ordinance for a mobile home lot is 25 feet. Is that going to present an issue in locating a mobile home on these lots to meet the 25 foot?
No, they actually designed them to meet the 25-foot front setback.
What's the smallest lot size? Do you know?
12,000 square feet.
12,000 square feet.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's,
some of the corner lots are a little bigger,
Little.
turns.
yeah,
and stuff.
which is, the majority
There's
of the
quite a
lots
few
are the
that are
same
that
size.
size.
They're 80 by
That's
160.
not bad.
Okay. And those will be the ones that will
Yeah,
have the
that's nice
community
size, I think.
sewage and so on.
Yes. Yep.
150 by 80.
Yep.
A lot of nice size, really. Not crammed in, that's for sure.
Now, this is kind of back several sections, but driveways and things, that all gonna be paved as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I had a question that, and I hope it hasn't been asked before. How about lawn maintenance and plowing the driveways and things like that? Who takes care of the,
Okay, yeah, we'll be doing the plowing in the, on the ground, we'll be doing the plowing, the mowing,
and mowing?
yeah. So it's geared for low maintenance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have the paved driveways for all these individual lots been included in the phosphorus calculation?
Yes,
They have, okay.
yes. If you look at, well, your set of drawings there contains a typical lot development
Okay.
in
That's
the
where it's at.
detail sheet. So they may vary a little bit, but
Okay.
that's a good average of
Okay,
what it's going to
wonderful,
be. Yep.
perfect.
Anything else on 8.16? Seeing nothing else, we'll move to 8.17, and that is not applicable, correct, to mobile homes?
Yeah, that's
And
NA.
8.18 is not on this sheet, but that is the mobile home, but you broke it up into each section.
Almost at the point of making a determination of a complete application. Before you do that, I would suggest you hold your public hearing.
All right. At this,
We have anyone here.
Hold it.
at
Hold
this,
it, it'll be quick.
at this time, we'll open the public hearing on this subdivision application. Anybody like to comment? Please.
I have great understanding of what you're attempting to do, and I wish you very well with it. It's a very difficult chore, particularly with senior living. I did this for 13 years, and believe me, when you got 2.5 miles of private road and several hundred residents, you gotta have those roads open 24/7 in the winter. The grass has to be the same throughout. People will let you know. So it's a challenge in going through the hoops. The one area, and there's certainly no question, that the applicant has a very good reputation. The one area that I ran into with my two communities, where they were concerned about what happens when I wasn't going to be there. And I'm not there now. And there isn't, fortunately, this has one plus. All of the residents, if at some point in the future, preferably a long time from now, find things aren't working well, all of their houses can be put on wheels or are on wheels, and away they go. We didn't have that luxury. But the one area, and I realize the town has no legal responsibility, but there are some areas where you have to be a little concerned in the future with pumps, whether it's water or sewer or any of the other infrastructure, should it be in the hands, we'll just say, of another owner in the future. Because while you have no legal responsibility, I don't think anybody in town is going to be happy dealing with having 100+ residents at the mercy of who's going to pay for the repair that needs to be made right now. And there may be ways of doing that while keeping a contingency under his control that could be passed on to a future owner. So that account, I know we did pumping stations, and we had to put a sum up to say if the pumping station ever broke down, I had to explain the whole pumping station is not going to explode, but they still wanted this, in that essence, the amount if it did explode. So I don't in any way trying to cast doubts on the thing, but there is a town responsibility now or in the future simply by having it. It's a great location, it's a great service, certainly a tremendous demand for the people he's talking about. We have a lot of residents in this town where the average age is high and getting higher in a state which has the highest average age in the country. And as somebody who's now no longer the young man in the office when I was 50, as somebody who's moved into that group, I know we have residents all over this town who are not living in appropriate housing. It's 3, 4, 5 bedrooms, it's maintenance headaches up to whatever, and there's no question. The reason many of the people came to the 2 communities that I was involved in building for not-for-profit groups came because they knew they could pick up the phone and get the problem solved without getting upset, nervous, worried about it. We took care of it. I'm sure he will do the same.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please.
Mike Ormsby. I'm all in favor of the project, but I do have a question. If by chance, I don't know, 48 units there uses quite a bit of water. I didn't look at your plans, so I don't know how much water it's going to draw. Are you planning on more than one well or
2.
2 wells?
Yeah.
Is there any way that the town could be protected in the future if that landfill ever leached into his wells and then, against litigation, like, oh, your landfill ruined my wells, and I just think that if some agreement could be done, that might be something to think about.
Please, Don?
The landfill existed, or has existed already. The developer already knows it's there. The risk is his.
Well,
Landfill's already been capped. Landfill's already been capped.
Right.
So,
The landfill's fairly superficial. Who knows how deep these wells will be? Have the wells been already drilled?
No,
No, so we don't know.
no, we'll have to develop a well drilling plan in that, and it may be 2 or 3 wells in the same general location as well, so it may be a well field.
do you intend to do any monitoring wells along the boundary between you and
No.
not that it wouldn't be a bad warning system, but
What type of process would that be for what Mr. Ormsby proposed? What type of?
It's a legal issue on that road, but here to address it, to get some advice from the town attorney on that.
Yeah.
no one knows what's going to happen down the road.
Well,
I
you
mean,
can't-
you know,
you can't tell
it
the
may not, he may not be the owner, and
You can't tell the future.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, well, a well just got destroyed. The town's responsible. I just think that maybe there was something written in the agreement or something.
So, like, if I could add, so Steve lives across there, Steve bought a house known as the landfill. Should Steve have signed that before he bought the house?
Say that again?
Should Steve had signed an agreement that he's not responsible for his house?
All I know is that other communities have had this problem
Right.
where something was built later on
Yeah.
and then and it got contaminated and then there was litigation against the community.
Right.
In other words, you got to supply us with water now because our water is ruined.
See, I'll be responsible for that, because I have to meet all the requirements of the main rural water. Now, if someone just built a house there, they wouldn't have to do those same standards, so basically I am taking on the responsibility.
So I didn't know if there's something that needed to be written though, that's all.
And they monitor every 2 years, so it's a
It
continuing thing. It's not just once. It's
True.
over.
That's through Maine Rural Water, he said.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's more than.
they're monitored by others, taken care of.
what due to the circumstances, they can adjust that monitoring every 6 months or
If they feel
whatever.
these, okay, okay.
It's going to be determined by the quality of the well once it's developed. Will determine how much it's going to have to be tested. We just don't know right now.
You mean you can't tell us before it's drilled?
I wish I could. I wish I could. I could
Your
make a
dowsing
lot.
rod.
Are there any other? Please.
I forgot to mention one other positive, which is that the two communities that I developed were developed for not-for-profit, which sold them subsequently to another not-for-profit. But they're now paying taxes, in lieu of taxes, on $30 million worth of real estate to two communities. I think those communities are very happy to receive the revenue. I'm sure that the trailers or the mobile homes will also be paying taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that goes to the owner or how it works, but certainly there's going to be some tax revenue there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
What you lose? Well, unless the board has
Wow.
any need for additional information from the applicant, you're at a point now to make a determination of completeness.
The
If you've done
application.
that, then you can make your findings.
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Anyone need any more information?
It's
Can we
incredibly
clear that up
complete
with a
to me.
motion? Jim? Is that what it's done?
Somebody's gonna make a motion about finding the application to be complete.
Yeah, I make the motion that the application seems very complete.
I would second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right, Gabe, in your packet, the findings of fact and decision form. And you can go through that. Probably best to do would be to read what your finding of fact is, and then take a vote at each one. and go through it.
So, we've actually just read that this is pretty much the same as the development studies, correct? So lots and blocks. The proposed subdivision contains lots that are appropriately laid out and are of adequate size to support the intended use, and if required to be arranged in blocks, such lots are arranged to fit in the topographical and geological character of the land and are safe and convenient to access.
Second that.
So moved.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
all right.
Oh, wait a second.
George,
Have a second before the motion.
yeah, George made the motion, and I read
By
it.
reading it, that's the motion.
I guess I was asking
Maybe the
for
steps to do would be the chair reads it, and somebody says so moved, and then somebody
Yeah.
seconds that, and then you take a vote. How's that sound?
Okay, I think we just did
So
that.
George did it, then Ed, say it again.
Seconded.
So moved.
No, say second.
Say second.
Ed, say second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on 9.2? All in favor?
Yes.
So that's a yes vote, correct?
Yes, it is.
9.3, streets. The proposed subdivision will comply with the minimum construction requirements for any new street that is proposed for the subdivision, and will comply with the minimum construction requirements for any structural improvements the applicant is required to perform on any public street or public easement utilized for access to the subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Nine four, traffic and access management. The proposed subdivision, one, will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highways or public roads existing or proposed. 2, has received approval from the Department of Transportation for driveways or entrances subject to Title 23 of Maine 704 and any rules adopted under that section if applicable. And 3, will not cause unreasonable traffic congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of existing public ways in an adjoining municipality if any part of the subdivision is located in that municipality.
So moved.
Second.
Is this the one that requires?
Yeah,
The DOT permit is not here yet, but go ahead.
So that's gonna be subject to
Number,
this.
So,
2 of it.
2, so subject, could we make the motion
DOT.
subject to
DOT
Fire.
approval?
DOT permit approval?
That sounds reasonable.
Yes.
So will you do a conditional yes?
So George, he can't get the permit until he gets the,
Right. Cart before the horse.
right.
Okay.
Does that make,
So yes pending DOT approval.
For that.
So-
We're approving it with the condition that.
that he gets that approval?
Right.
Yes.
Do we have, there was a motion, correct? And a second. So any, all in favor? Utilities, the proposed subdivision will be provided with required utilities for each lot.
So moved.
Second? 2 seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor? Groundwater. The proposed subdivision, 1, has sufficient water available for the reasonably foreseeable needs of the subdivision. 2, will not cause an unreasonable burden on an existing water supply if one is to be utilized. And 3, will not, alone or in conjunction with existing activities, adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater.
Well, that's a hard one to, give them the wells yet. I mean,
We don't have the wells yet.
I guess that's another conditional one that.
It's pending flow of the wells. How many you'll need.
Is there a permit to be granted through Maine Rural Water for that? Or anything, or the, you know, through that program, or through DEPs? Is there a,
Since this comes under the jurisdiction of a public water supply, when it is built, they're gonna have to ascertain whether the wells do meet the standards or be in public water supply. So, testing and applicability of the wells will be with the state. Before any occupancy can be.
So how do we, so do we conditionally approve, you know, based on,
Future wells.
Right now, he's proposing drilling two wells, and each well will be a public drinking supply. He may end up having to drill 6 wells.
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
He doesn't know. But to build its 48 lots, he has to meet the requirements for public drinking water,
correct?
which will determine the quality and quantity available. So
So what if?
we
he-
don't have.
What if he
much
drills
say
these 6 wells and he still, what if he just keeps drilling wells and the water is not suitable? Do we make a condition, and I know he doesn't want to hear this, that he hooks up to town water?
Well, it
Should
stops,
the wells not be suitable?
I don't think he could hook up to town water, could he?
it stops down at the town.
Water
the
and
one
sewer
town
stop
office.
right before the public works building.
Yeah, right. Stops.
The water is a lot farther away than that.
Is the water
Is
further
Now,
down?
only goes to
Broadway.
Race Course Road or
Couple
something.
hundred,
The last hydrant
Huh?
is Central and Broadway.
Yeah.
Going out of town.
Water
I
supply.
don't know how far beyond that it
the
extends.
apartment house at the top.
Or do we just
on the
make
left.
it conditional on having suitable wells? And if the wells aren't there, then we have to,
We don't have to do anything.
no, well, he does. But we can't say,
That's all through the main rural water. So basically, you're covered there because you're saying I have to go through main rural water. So the question was, is it applicable amount of water?
We're
It's all up to
approving-
them. You've already got that covered under that.
we're,
Is that right?
That's right.
So
but
it's
we're
really,
approving a subdivision. Our paperwork says right here that we're saying, yes, it has sufficient water.
you're saying, okay, well, I have the
And-
everything in place for it. You're saying I have to go through this company like I have to have engineering.
And
It's-
just, all I'm saying, we have to come up with a way to satisfy our needs.
You did. You had that in place, is what I'm saying. You had that I have to use main rural water.
What is the amount, though? What is the number of gallons per lot? Is there
No, it
any
has to be a
calculation,
licensed
way you
water.
can
I
calculate
have to be a
that?
water operator.
Maybe,
I mean,
maybe what you could do is just condition it that he gets his public water, public drinking water license from the Department of Human Services. That would cover everything.
yeah, I think it's already, it has to be anyway.
It
right?
has to be anyways for him to operate his
Right.
park.
So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't operate, and it's,
Right, and then
So-
he can't run a
Didn't I
park.
read somewhere in there that we could require he have a storage tank for drinking water?
Firewall.
No, it's not fire water. It was a 10,000 gallon storage tank with so many gallons per, so many additional gallons per unit.
I mean, the ordinance says that
It's really complicated.
that's gonna be a public water supply. Public water supply has
He's got to have
criteria attached to it,
enough water to,
right?
Section
He does
8.6.11.
wells, really.
yeah, and I can't put it in that.
Well, they drill it,
But he
Park
said,
before horse.
well, I'll do everything as I have.
So so what are the, we can't approve a subdivision saying there's adequate water if,
There isn't even a well there.
Yeah.
Ten
We
thousand
get-
gallons is for firefighting supplies,
Yeah.
not for drinking water.
Has the town evaluated
Where does
the
it
cost
say-
of extending the?
where does it say that's for
Water.
fire suppression? Except well, by the recommendation of the fire department, okay, I see that.
So I guess what I'll point out to the board is when you went through your standard review, you looked at section 8.6 groundwater and presumably read through the standards and nobody had any concerns that I heard anyway.
We said we had no questions. Now we're saying, now we're approving this, saying that the proposed subdivision has sufficient water. We don't know that.
We don't know the amount of water.
We
so
might not have
can't-
any questions, but we still don't know it has sufficient drinking water.
But the answer to that question really belonged during your standard review. You felt that the standard wasn't being met and you should be asking for more information and you didn't. You seem to be satisfied.
Then we can say no now. I mean, we can't say yes, there's sufficient water. So if we didn't ask a
Or you
question in
could
the standard
condition
review.
it.
You were mentioning the state.
Right, we've already accepted one condition of approval, which was related to the DOT entrance, which was, again, something, of course it's different, but, we couldn't put the cart before the horse. We're sort of in the same thing with our wells.
Yeah.
I know the applicant would be more than happy to accept a condition that the groundwater standard is met if he secures his public water license through the Department of Human Services. I think that you can condition it and approve it in that way. It just becomes a conditional
In
approval.
order to get that license, he has to show proof that there is sufficient
Yeah,
water
we
available.
have to drill them all, we have to yield test them all, we have to
Perfect.
quality test them all.
That works for me.
Perfect.
I think that more than satisfies.
I can't start the project until I do this, because I gotta build roads so the truck can get down there.
Yeah.
Well, there's no one living there, though.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that covers the town and the board with that, if we could accept that condition. of
Pending approval of groundwater standard of public water license to the Department of Human Services is the condition for a yes.
Oh, man, nobody moves in.
I understand.
Right, yeah,
Just one question.
gotta start somewhere.
If, has anybody looked into the town paying a part and the developer paying a part to get town water, town
Get the
sewer?
town water up there and sewer.
We never explored that option.
I mean, you're giving the town taxes. Maybe you could get something in return.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
So maybe in the
Sewer.
future, it may
Sewer
become
is
something that
causing
is viable.
municipal, But the water isn't. Water is probably,
Yeah.
sewer is causing municipal.
So do we have a motion on that conditional?
I think when we
License to
were
the
doing
Department of
the
Human
review,
Services.
When we determined it was a public water supply, and we felt that the state would be covering the condition, the
Right,
quantity.
the
and
Department
all
of Human
that
Services.
because of their inspection
Yeah,
and licensing that they have to do.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Kind of
the state's
kind of
covering
passed
so
them up
much
a
of
little
this.
bit, but I
I'm
think
good.
that's-
But do we have a motion to accept that?
Motion, conditional motion to accept it based on a license through the Department of Human Services.
Copies of the licenses and
Is that your motion?
reports.
Yes.
I'd second that.
Okay.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor? 9.7 wastewater. The proposed subdivision will provide for adequate wastewater disposal and will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipal wastewater disposal system if it is utilized.
It's not going to be.
I guess that's an easy one.
So motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Beat me, you're so quick.
All in favor? I didn't. 9.8, solid waste. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal services are to be utilized.
It's a central dumpster. They all go to the dumpster and the contractor takes the
Yeah,
dumpster
it'd be
away.
contractor picked up,
Yeah.
yep.
Or a truck goes around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You walk next door.
Right, you just take it. Walk.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you.
All right.
Any further discussion? All in favor? 9.9, erosion control. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water, so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results, and will provide for adequate storm water management.
So motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thought somebody was thinking over there.
This is Woodburn.
9.10, buffers. The proposed subdivision will have adequate buffers to minimize the impact of development on adjacent properties and the natural resources.
So motion.
Second, very well noted on the plan.
Any further discussion? All in favor? 9.11, natural resources. 1, the proposed subdivision has identified on any maps submitted as part of the application all potential freshwater wetlands within the subdivision, regardless of the size of those wetlands, and any river, stream, or brook within or abutting the proposed subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 2, the proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution. In making this determination, the board has considered the elevation of the land above sea level and its relation to the floodplains, the nature of soils and subsoils and their ability to adequately support waste disposal, the slope of the land and its effect on effluents, the ability of streams for disposal of effluents, and the applicable state and local health and water resource rules and regulations.
So motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? 3, the proposed subdivision will not adversely affect the quality of any pond or lake or unreasonably affect the shoreline of any pond or lake whenever the subdivision is situated entirely or partially within the watershed of that pond or lake, or within 250 feet of any wetland, great pond, or river as defined in Title 38, Chapter 3, Subchapter 1, Article 2-B.
I assume that would be conditional on DEP?
That would be a good location to put another condition, that we receive our DEP stormwater permit.
Yeah.
So motion.
Second? On the stormwater permit?
Any discussion? George? Anything?
Was it just a motion, or was?
No, we wondered if you wanted to say, that in the discussion, you
I
wanted to
just
say,
saw you looked,
like you about to say something?
Well, I was just wondering.
Jay made the motion,
Do you
Steve
make the
second.
motion, did Jay make the?
Jay made the motion, I just seconded it.
Oh,
I
okay.
got the easy part.
So no comments? All in favor? 4, the proposed subdivision will not unreasonably increase a Great Pond's phosphorus concentration during the construction phase and life of the subdivision.
So moved.
Oh, sorry. Second.
Any discussion?
How do we know, do we discuss the construction phase? We know the life of the subdivision is the mitigation plan.
The stormwater permit from the DEP addresses the construction such that whenever you're building, you build in a systematic fashion so that you control your runoff the entire time. So that, and that's another reason why things are laid out the way they are. You build a section of this road, and then you drain it down to this buffer.
Yeah.
And then you do the next one, and it goes down to that buffer, and then you work your way around.
Perfect.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Five, the proposed subdivision is not located on a parcel of land that has been owned by the applicant for less than 5 years and which has been harvested in violation of the Maine Forest Service rules pertaining to liquidation harvesting. And I don't see where,
How long has the applicant owned this property?
Less than a year, I would say.
and you did cut it, but I don't know what they mean by liquidation
Yeah, I didn't-
harvesting.
The previous owner cut it, and he cut it with conditions that he owned the wood rights.
Right.
Oh, I thought
But-
you would cut it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this seems to be indicating a violation of the Maine forest rules pertaining to liquidation harvesting. I think that's the clear cutting
Oh, right.
law, so,
That's not
It wasn't
applicable.
really-
really.
yeah, I would say that's not applicable.
So,
Make a motion that's not applicable.
yeah, that he has, there's no violation to that.
There's no
Yeah.
violation,
Right.
so it's.
I don't have a spot on the sheet to vote
Right,
yes or
No,
no.
number 6.
I would so motion.
Well, I would second that then.
Any discussion? All in favor? Number 6, the proposed subdivision will have no lot with a lot depth to shore frontage ratio greater than 5 to 1, for any lots in the proposed subdivision that have shore frontage on a river, stream, brook, great pond, or coastal wetland as features are defined in Title 38, Section 480-B.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 9.12, scenic and historic areas. The proposed subdivision will not have any undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the municipality, rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any other, or on any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 9.13, floodplain management. The proposed subdivision includes a condition on the plat that requires principal structures in the subdivision to be constructed with their lowest floor, including the basement, at least 1 foot above the 100-year flood elevation. The plat also identifies the 100-year flood elevation and the flood hazard boundaries within the subdivision. These requirements are applicable if any part of the subdivision is in a flood hazard area as identified on the Federal Emergency Management Agency's flood boundary and floodway maps and flood insurance rate maps.
That was not applicable.
Right, that's one that you can actually vote not applicable.
So
Yeah,
do we
I think so.
vote on that? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So can we have a motion that it is not
So moved.
okay. So
applicable?
move that it's not applicable.
Any discussion? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Any discussion? All in favor that it is not applicable? 9.14, reserved land. The proposed subdivision includes an appropriately sized area dedicated to open space or recreational use and an area designated for municipal use as may be required.
None replied, so yes.
Plus
So
the-
moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
I want it defined.
It says dedicated.
I want to see some areas dedicated.
Yeah, that's the sticking word. Nothing's been, you have lots of area that could be dedicated, but it has not been. I think that's,
When you get some-
Yeah.
there's that huge triangular area where you come in, so
Have-
plenty
have-
of,
have
plenty
we-
of area.
Did we vote on this?
We did.
Yeah.
You just raised your hand.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So this, yeah.
So it, motion carries.
It did.
By default, you kind of have that,
Just
built in there.
open-
Because there's no, because of the shoreline, it's almost resource protection. That's, recreational uses, the only thing you can do in that area.
Well, I don't know if you can consider the forested buffers as well as reserved land. They're
And just-
reserved.
And just the land that they aren't cutting anyway, that they aren't using is open.
Right.
One person's recreation might be someone else's, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that can be interesting.
9.15, financial and technical capacity. The proposed subdivision will be developed by an applicant who has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this ordinance.
I would so move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Nine point 16, zoning and land use. The proposed subdivision conforms with all applicable provisions of the Bucksport Town Code and the town's adopted comprehensive plan.
So motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 9.17, cluster developments. The proposed subdivision, if reviewed as a cluster development, conforms with all applicable provisions of the Bucksport Town Code and the town's adopted comprehensive plan. This is
Not applicable.
non-applicable, I believe.
Make a motion.
That it is non-applicable.
Second.
All in favor? Mobile home parks, 9.18. The proposed subdivision, if reviewed as a mobile home park, conforms with all applicable provisions of the Bucksport Town Code and the town's adopted comprehensive plan.
Is there any special reason why there's a not applicable section in this? I think it would have,
It would have been,
would have to be. I would so motion that it does.
Well, it is a mobile home park, so
Yeah, so
it
you
would have to
can't,
be.
can't be not
It would be
applicable.
applicable because this is what we're reviewing.
I motion that it does conform.
Okay, very good.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Based on the above stated findings of fact, the planning board has determined the following. I believe that, look for a motion that the subdivision application meets the requirements of the Bucksport subdivision ordinance and is hereby approved.
So motion.
It says partially because we have,
Yeah,
we have several conditional
Oh, I'm sorry.
approvals in here.
But-
So I think it would be the second. Because it partially meets the.
Okay, I'll read
So
that.
we've got two there that are conditional.
This,
At least.
We have three conditions.
the conditions, yeah. The subdivision application partially meets the requirements of the Bucksport subdivision ordinance and is
three,
hereby granted conditional
4.
approval. The following additional items will be required for final approval. And then we list those.
entrance
Yep.
permit.
Yep, the DOT entrance permit was the first one, the stormwater permit.
Well permit.
Yeah, the well.
Water, yeah.
Groundwater standard from the Department of Human Services, that license. So just 4 items.
I have entrance, stormwater,
In public water supply.
public water, says 3. Okay. Is that
I
it,
have
just the 3?
3.
One more, that the licensed by the Manufactured Housing Board.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Mobile home parks have to be licensed by the Manufactured Housing Board, so that should be a condition of your approval as well.
The manufacturing,
Maine Manufactured Housing Board.
okay.
What number was that?
We didn't discuss that at any point.
You did not. I'll bring it up right now.
Will you say that again, please?
Actually, that's a condition in the contract zone agreement that, I'll read what it says in the contract zone agreement. Restrictions and conditions applicable to the mobile home park contract zone. Subdivision approval must be obtained from the planning board before the project may be permitted. That's what we're doing now. A mobile home park license must be obtained from the Maine Manufactured Housing Board before the project may be permitted. All required approvals from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection must be obtained before the project may be permitted. All required approvals from the Maine Department of Transportation must be obtained before the project may be permitted.
Perfect. That fills in that blank.
It also said, by the way, no commercial uses may be allowed in a mobile home park. I don't think that's not on the subdivision plan, is it?
It said, it does say in there that it's for residential purposes only.
No businesses.
And the last condition in the agreement is that the mobile home park must be operated in compliance with all applicable rules, regulations, and laws. That's pretty broad, but it's conditions. So there were 1, 2, 3 conditions, I think.
Entrance, stormwater, and water.
What this one doesn't address is the drinking water.
But that's actually contained in the mobile home park. They're licensed to run a mobile home park. That's all part of that license application. So you could do 4 but two of them actually just doubled up. But it wouldn't make any difference.
So do you want me to read that again?
Which one?
The partially meets?
No, we've read it.
Okay. So do we have a motion and a second?
We have some motion and second.
I would withdraw my prior motion,
Thank you, that's appropriate.
Okay.
and so motion this most recent.
And I would second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? So does this allow him to
Move forward.
do something? I mean,
Right,
he's
what
so
can he
like,
do?
in order to get, like he mentioned, in order to get the wells, he's gotta put a road in.
Looks like he's gonna get four licenses.
But I mean, it's so, I mean, can
At
he
least
do
three.
some work in there that, I don't.
We can do,
The wells.
we can get our wells drilled, we can do some temporary road work in there. We will have to work with the Maine DEP in regards to stormwater issues and our pending stormwater plan. We'll let them know what we're going to be doing for investigations on the wells and things, and they'll give us some guidance as to, okay, this is how we want you to go after that. They may say, build this amount of road here and do this buffer or drain it to here, and then we can get to those locations. So we will have to coordinate all of that with the DEP.
Does Jeff have to?
Do a phasing plan.
Do anything?
There's no land use permit required for a mobile home park, it's just subdivision approval, which we've just given them. So I believe that you go ahead and start building the park, subject obviously to getting your state permit first.
This
Yep.
doesn't come under site development
No,
size wise.
it's not a site plan review, you did the only review you need to, well, you did the contract zone review too, so yeah, you got as far as you need to go to approve this project. The additional permits from the town would be building permits for the mobile home to be installed, and septic system permits and plumbing hookup permits.
Yeah, that's all from you.
Yes. Those are the permits that can't be issued until all these conditions.
Oh, correct.
So if you have another mobile home that comes in after one was already there, you have to have another,
Do it all over again.
Yep.
exciting.
So at least he doesn't have to sit on his hands and wait
Right.
so he can get started.
To the extent that he can, subject to getting his state approval.
Okay.
You have quite the resume.
Yeah, how do you get the road there?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you, great job, really impressive.
So we're gonna move on.
Hold on, we need to have Mylars or signatures.
Oh, I have to sign
Don's
some
moving in, I
too.
think. First resident.
He's already got his trailer line.
He's got his
Lot
trailer.
worked out, Don?
He's got the wheels greased.
I know too much about it.
It's a pretty safe neighborhood.
Actually, there was one, I'd take that one right there. Lot 28.
I'd take the one at the end,
You're off.
48.
Yeah, well, I thought 28, there's nobody, there's somebody across the street.
28.
Yeah, 48 would be good too.
Well, you're just renting these though.
Right.
You're not gonna buy it,
That's fine.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, he's just paying them.
One of the people that came to me said, why aren't they putting condos there? That would be the way to go, really.
The upper floors are happy to put.
Or apartment buildings, much less phosphorus export, just apartment buildings. And for elderly, you get,
Okay.
you get financing. There's financing.
Everything is so circumstantial, case by case. I don't think you'd ever get it right. I really don't.
I'm sure we will, we'll see a lot more. You're gonna see a salmon plant sometimes.
I agree.
How about those tiny
Even though
ones?
it's lengthy, I don't think it's reviewed well.
I don't think you were here. I saw one, there's one down
two
in
there.
Blue Hill, really nice.
Yeah,
But, can get people who are like transients, they just build sheds.
Oh, I know it.
That's the
You really
downside
have to
of
have some willing to.
it. Right.
I reserved the top spot for you, okay? That's why I signed
Oh, I
last.
was gonna just go right above yours.
Okay.
I thought you started that way, and I said, well, just continue.
No, I just, other new kid on the block, I signed last.
Can you, when you
Lessons.
report that?
I think I did fine.
You did.
I only fumbled 2 or 3 times.
I know, you don't need any lessons, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, kiss ass.
I'm after his job. All the money I get for this, I give to the town. Well, we can sign this when it's conditional?
Have to use their pen, don't you? I think you have to use their pen.
I always get pictures of this stuff, this is pretty cool. I missed a call from somebody.
Well, we've still got administrative business, and then discussion, and then adjournment. We brought, for all intents and purposes, folks.
Move number 10.
You're still on recordership?
We're still being broadcast.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Yeah, people are still watching.
Wow. Well, you were right into it.
Wonder what our viewership is like.
Who's the star?
On the Nielsen's.
Be a book page?
What's that?
Book page?
Yeah, yeah. We used to get one of our own.
There's a line on there that identifies conditions. Simply say, subject to state of property.
Want me to write that on there?
That's a smart idea. That way you don't have to list all of them.
I better drop my last.
Well, this will be interesting to see, I gotta say.
Nope, there you go, right there. You were hiding it.
Sorry, John Hancock.
You didn't realize planning board would be so much fun, did you?
No, I didn't. But yes, it is.
I think you bring the element.
Whatever that element is, yeah.
If I ever do development, I'm calling CES. You do a great job.
Boy, you guys do things up right.
You really do things right, I gotta say. It's impressive.
picked that up and I was looking at it. Thought, yeah, that's,
Someone who really needs to be explained and led through this.
Subject to
Put
all,
it together very well.
all required state permits?
Yeah, the stormwater, DOT.
He's not 55. You're out. You gotta wait another 10 years.
Wouldn't be able to move it?
What's that?
You're 55?
I'm older than that.
Okay, there's only one guy, 2 guys on the board that won't be able to move it.
Well, I tell you what, if the people need to borrow a few years, I'm always willing to give it to them.
55.
How old are you?
53.
Okay, go, ways to go.
I'll be on a 2-year waiting list.
where am I signing?
It'll probably just be finished then, so you'll be perfect.
Steve's 32.
Anyway you
2
want, right
years,
right
2
across.
days older
Yeah.
than my youngest.
Sign it, Tom.
We were born about on the same day.
I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle.
So I sign up.
Yeah.
How old? She'll be able to move into this park.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Cheap. We use them.
We did,
Is this a-
I'm gonna need to get one of those drawers, you know, that you put them in. We've done some interesting ones.
All right, we're gonna continue.
Yeah.
Section 8, administrative business.
Just a couple of quick things. Bring the meeting back to order.
Folks, excuse us, we're gonna continue with the meeting.
Use your hammer there.
Thank you.
You don't like it, okay, well.
I received a revised site plan for Greentown Officer, and I just wanted to take a quick moment here to see if you would like to review this formally. And I'll just point out quickly, do you all see that? Enlarge it a little bit more. So what, 50%. Yeah, that's better. Can you see that?
Yeah, looks good.
So what they did, they changed the layout of the lot. They now have an access road around the back. That wasn't on the plan you approved. They've reduced the size of the building by about 500 square feet. And they've added a couple entrances over here on this side that weren't on the plan you approved.
Yes, they were.
Well, there might have been one.
No, because there was a hot entrance and a cold entrance.
Right, exactly, they had one for each
They had a
separate
they had a
process.
And that
Small
third
addition.
one was the office.
they had a small addition here about that size there. That's not there now.
Yeah, that was the office.
But anyway, with those changes, do you feel like you need to act on this? Or?
I wouldn't think so.
Where did the office go?
The back loop is,
Not gonna do any office work there.
Right there.
You just do it in the plan.
no, it's just a gravel
Right.
strip.
That's the whole size of that
Right.
lot, that dashed line. Yeah.
This is the lot lines over here.
So
It
that
doesn't-
drive,
The other dash line's a setback line?
Setback.
right, so that doesn't change. I mean, that,
No.
The building gets smaller, not larger, so.
what was the reasoning for adding that? Is it just a different,
It might have been for insurance purposes to add this fire lane behind the building. Not really sure.
That would make sense, yeah.
I've just done nothing but improve it, or left it pretty much the same, except for some doors.
Doesn't impact those drainage swales that were built into the development, doesn't look like, anyway.
Just, I would guess, if they would have enlarged the building definitely, or they decreased the size of the building, I don't see.
Net square footage, I think they reduced it a little bit because of the front office is no longer there.
It was around 15,500, now it's down to 15,000.
It had decreased it originally, so it didn't require sprinklers. It looks like
Yeah, they were originally, they kept it below a certain figure so they wouldn't have to have sprinklers.
Right, right.
Fire protection.
Yeah.
So what's the board's feeling? You want to,
I would move that we approve the
well,
smaller size.
well, I wouldn't
Without
ask you
review?
to take- yeah, if you think you need to approve it, then we should do a formal agenda item at the next meeting to do it that way. If you don't, if you think these changes don't rise to the level of meeting your okay, then we'll just leave it like that.
Yeah.
Let them go, and let them go.
Yeah, let them make these changes without having you have to endorse it.
If
Well, I
they,
would hope them to go through that.
yeah,
Yeah, it seems unnecessary.
I agree. If it was
I mean,
larger,
I agree.
We let the code enforcement officer issue
Review it.
permits.
Yeah. I would second that.
okay?
I think that's a level 2. Or 1.
Okay.
So do you want to vote on that? or-
I made a motion, a second.
Yeah, so let's, all in favor?
Who did the motion a second again?
He made the motion, I seconded.
Okay, that takes care of that, and now, hopefully, I know it's getting late, but I have one more thing to update you on. Resource protection. Dave,
Yes, sir.
as you recall,
Duck Cove.
you asked me to contact a qualified professional to find out some idea of how much it might cost to take a look at possibly taking some RP out of RP, specifically this area here, and this area, and possibly even down here.
Where's down here?
That's your neck of the woods.
No possibly about it.
Well, actually, Dave, see this blue area here, Dave?
Yeah,
That's your land there. That is going to come out of RP because it was put in RP back in 2009. We were forced to put it in RP.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
So we're going to propose to take that out without question.
Okay.
For small.
The question is, can any part of this RP be taken out? Mainly because of concerns you've heard from Lorna Nason here in another meeting.
Right.
Is that my land now we're talking about?
No.
No, this is Mrs. Mason on Duck Cove Road.
Down here.
Okay.
She's up in this area here.
Yes.
So I met with this lady who was recommended as being qualified to help us, and she pointed out that there's language in our ordinance. That's not the one. Oh, I think I might have pulled it. Hold on. Just give me a second here. The description of the Resource Protection District, she said, might get in the way of your looking at those other areas because, here's what it says. An area within 250 feet of the shoreline of any wetland with moderate or high value as rated by Maine Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, or within 250 of the shoreline of Silver Lake, Mud Pond, McGann Bog, Narragansett River, Penobscot River, Copeland Brook, and White Brook. Some of those areas that we're looking at possibly taking out are by those. So,
Well, one of them is Copeland Brook.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then definitely McCann Bog.
Yeah.
So, and the large area where Lorna Nason's property is based in Narragansett River. So, this is language we put in. This is not mandated by DEP. The town chose to address these areas as being an RP. So if we want to consider taking those other areas out that are by these water bodies, we have to change this language.
Does that include the Narragansett River on my area?
Yeah.
You'd stake all of them.
No, Dave. I don't think so. I don't think it would matter whether we
What's
kept that river in there or not.
What's the next sentence? It says land within this area is.
Primarily undeveloped or developed with residential uses. So let me go back to this. This is what it says in DEP guidelines for resource protection. And I'm thinking, why not just use this language instead of making up our own language?
Is it less restrictive?
Yeah, it doesn't mention those water bodies
Yeah.
specifically, so
So would that help out Mrs. Nason and her issue?
I don't know. I don't know.
She's still in the floodplain.
Yeah, she still has the floodplain issue. I don't think she can get out of that.
You know, my property was, I have a camp right down on the water. It's been there for a long time. And they said that was, I took flood insurance out for I don't know how many years at $1,000 a year. And then they suddenly decided 2 years ago, that isn't a floodplain. So, maybe hers isn't in the floodplain.
What was the cost of that?
It floods occasionally. That
Well,
bridge.
she gave me a rough estimate of between $800 to $1,000 to give us a preliminary report, which would say there's a probability that these areas might qualify for change. Based on a very limited analysis.
Yeah.
She's not going to these properties to look at them, she's looking at maps essentially.
Right.
And in her best estimation, based on her qualifications, she'll say I think you might be able to, or I think you probably won't be able to, take this out of RP.
So we have Mrs. Nason and Mr. Grant that are interested in some of their parcels being removed from RP, but is there anybody else?
No, I mean, the areas that,
They're not developable,
Right.
really.
these areas that I've pointed out, really,
Bonds.
nobody's complaining about that property being an RP.
Right,
It's been an RP since day one.
right,
The blue area is what we had to change into RP.
right.
And McCann Bog, there's a camp there, but again, I haven't heard any complaints about that being an RP. I have received complaints about this. A property owner who lived right next to it owned a part of that property, and it was an RP, and he asked for it to be taken out.
Okay.
Most of the Narragansett River, all of it is on the other side, is in Orland. So you don't know how many other people
Are affected? Yeah.
would like to get their property taken out. Because it's not, I just know that it's not, shouldn't be in research protected.
So this is a large wetland, and I'm willing to bet that this probably won't qualify for other than RP zoning. But she's willing to look at it, but if you think if it's not worth trying to take this out of RP because nobody really is concerned about it, you just want to leave it alone.
If
you can do that too.
if there's no need, if no landowner in these areas is asking for it to be done, if there's no issue, then if it doesn't affect anyone, then why bother with it?
Is that the board's view?
I would think, yeah.
But let's just take that one step back. What does that mean to me as a landowner that had it taken out before and then was put in?
This is the shoreline zone, Dave, here that affects your property. Can you see it on the map here, right here? This is the shoreline zone that affects your property.
I don't see your cursor.
Right
He's
here.
got a laser.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yep.
So, as you pointed out, that was in limited residential at one point in time, then it was put into RP
Mm-hmm,
in 2009.
right.
So now we don't need to keep it in RP. So this is one, the areas that are colored blue are the RPs that we're going to propose be changed back to limited residential,
Okay, I see,
including your property.
I see.
I was asking if you wanted to look further and look at other RP areas, like
Okay,
the
I
ones shaded
understand.
purple.
It would make sense. I understand what you're saying. I just don't see any need to spend any money at all if there's no request from any landowner.
Well, the red one is Norman Mason, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did request that.
But if there's two, there's David and there's her.
Right.
She actually has, come to find out, her lot where her house sits, and she has a fairly wide lawn next to it,
Yeah.
that's not an RP. It's in limited resource protection, which the difference is you can build a house. and
Oh, okay, that
live
was
in
her
resource
concern.
protection, where you-
100 feet back.
the setback would be 75 feet, I think, from the
It's
wet.
not salt water. It's fresh water.
It's not a great pond, though.
Okay.
So, but she still has the floodplain issue, and that makes it difficult to build,
Yeah.
too. This is much, if not worse than RP. So, my question to you is, do you want to reel this back and just deal with
The light blue.
this area here to see if we can take any more out on RP, or just deal with the ones that are blue? And not even bother.
Well, she has asked, so.
She
Right.
has asked, and I think
So
David's
let-
asked. So
Well, mine's coming out of
it's
it.
coming out anyway.
So let's just do her, let's
do
just
her,
try to
the
help her.
cheapest.
Yeah.
And if other people get wind of it, and they wanna come in and ask for help, then take them on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
It's not something that
Perfect.
has to be done,
Right. I agree with that.
tomorrow, and then that's it, we're done doing that.
Okay. I'll proceed forward on that request. That's all I have, I guess.
Thank you, Jeff.
Can I talk about the noise thing?
Sure.
With the sawmill thing, I did some research on a noise ordinance standard or zoning regulation. The purpose of the standard is to protect the public from unreasonable increases in noise. That would include sawmills or people cutting it in the opposite direction. From certain commercial, industrial, manufacturing, and assembly operations, proposed uses that involve use of machinery, outdoor processing, repair services such as auto body, truck, and auto repair shops, sawmills, sand and gravel operations that are required to design projects that do not create excessive noise for the area in which they are proposed. So, I'm good to look at.
I had planned on continuing our discussion on that topic at the next meeting.
That's why I'm handing these out now, so they can be read ahead of time if people are interested.
Yeah, thank you.
This is actually adopted from the town of Redfield, which is on the other side of Augusta. A small town that has had these problems. Do you get one? There you go.
Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?